Good, Chaotic Nation, it's your boy Chaos here, coach of your Detroit Red Wingulls, coach of your 1-0 Detroit Red Wingulls. This is not the first time in this league that I've started out 1-0 with a really good win and just thrown it away, so we're hoping not to repeat that this season. But I honestly feel really good about this team, and last week made me feel even better about the team. Apparently, a 5-0 win is not that impressive, as there was a team that went 6-0 and another team that went 5-0 and a 4-0 as well. So we are sitting actually in second place because of our name right now, tied for second right now with differential at 5, a +5 and 1 win. So we're hoping to continue that, but it is going to be tough this week. This is a rough matchup for me, to put it nicely. There's a lot this opponent could be doing against us, and it's going to be difficult unless we do well here in prep. I would say that it's probably slightly a little bit more skewed in favor of our opponent, but this week, like all other weeks, but particularly this week, it comes down to prep, and that's what matters. I'm not super confident with this team because I haven't had any mocks this week. I don't expect to have any mocks before my match, but if I do, you might see some changes in the draft battle video. By the way, there's another video that's linked in the description of this video that will have the match for you. If you're watching this when it comes out live, know that it comes out the next day, so just subscribe to the channel. That's a great way to see it, but it's also down there if you happen to be watching this after the fact. I'm really not confident with this team, as confident with this team as I was last week, but either way, we're here and we're going to see what's going down with our team. My opponent has Iron Valiant, Baxcalibur, Jirachi, Sandy Shocks, Basililegion, which is Terra Water, Regieleki, Sinistra, Raichu, Alolan Form, and Hisuian Decidueye with Terra Dark, Steel, and Fighting. This is a little bit of an interesting team. I kind of like it and I kind of hate it at the same time, and it's great. Speed tiers are listed there on the screen. You can see them. Regieleki is a stupid at 200 base speed, although that's probably really its only stat we have to worry about. But he has 5 Pokemon 100 plus, which is massive when it comes to team building and just playing the game. So it's going to be a tough team that's going to be fast, and we have to find a way to deal with that. The other Pokemon, a little bit slower, not really wanting to see some Trick Room, but all of them still very much viable Scarf options, so we could see one of the slower ones come with Scarf, and we'll talk about some of those when they come. But let's see what he's going to be bringing. What do I think he's going to be bringing? Well, first and foremost, Iron Valiant comes. That is your highest rated Pokemon, so that is probably a guaranteed bring every week. This Pokemon has a phenomenal move pool. If you've ever tried to fight Gallade in this generation, and its move pool is crazy, and that's what makes this thing so difficult, because it can be physical, it can be special. It has a wide move pool that supports both of its sets. It can run mixed if it wants to. This thing has so many capabilities and possibilities that it's really hard to play against and find out what your opponent's going to be using. But I'm trying to figure out exactly what that is. I've prepped for a few different things with some different team members, and hopefully that can deal with it. The real thing about Iron Valiant is it really only can invest in one stat, or it can be mixed, or it can be utility. So it could be a physical offensive, it could be special offensive, it could be mixed, or utility. Those are basically what it's got. Its 4 moveset syndrome is really a problem for this Pokemon, and it cannot run every single move that it needs. Unfortunately, we don't know what it has until it attacks, but we can take a guess of what it has and try to play off of that. Likely, its items could be Booster Energy, Focus Sash, Eject Pack, White Herb, Life Orb, maybe, if it wants to do that. It probably will carry Knockoff, regardless of its set, to try to deal with our not fully evolved Pokemon that have Eviolite, because you see that last week, they did a lot of work. It probably wants that for those Pokemon, as well as to get rid of items on my other things. It probably wants to maintain both of its stabs as well, whether that's running both of them specially, running a mixed set, or running one physical and one special. Probably Moonblast Cause Combat is the likely scenario of the two. That would be what I would see the most likely coming. And for the final move slot, it really depends on what Iron Valiant wants to do. I would expect it to want to run Poison Jab to try to catch Clefable or my Terra Fairies, because every single one of my Terras have the ability to Terra Fairy. I would expect it to run Poison for that. Also, it's a great option to just do some damage neutrally, maybe get a poison on something to slow them down that way. So who knows, that could be the thing. I don't know what its final move slot could be. I don't know what its moveset's gonna be, period. It's really tough Pokemon to deal with, and that's definitely a bring this week. The next Pokemon my opponent's probably bringing is Baxcaller. This is a strong offensive sweeper. Dragonance plus 3 moves is a phenomenal set and does well into my team this week. Earthquake is a great coverage move to deal with my Pokemon, so I probably expect to see it. Thermal Exchange is going to be there as a way to deal with Crocalor. I don't know why I said it that way. It's likely going to be loaded dice, but it could be Life Orb if it wants to do some more damage. It could be Choice if he wants to run 4 moves instead of D-Dance. And that could be Choice Band or Choice Scarf, depending on what it wants to be. And it likely wants to be max speed, max attack to be hyper offense. It could be a defensive set this week. It is a little bit slower, and I have some fast Pokemon, so it might want to be a defensive set this week, but it's probably going to want to be a hyper offense and try to find a way to Dragonance sweep if it decides to come. Obviously, next is Jirachi. I mean, we're just going down the line at this point of his Pokemon, but Jirachi is a pain in the butt. It is a great utility Pokemon, and honestly, it's the same thing as Iron Valiant. It has so many movesets it can run that it is great. 100 across the board in every stat is a pain in the butt, but can be broken through with the right ability. 100 spent U-turns coming this week. It's a great option for pivoting, regardless if that's a Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Choice Band, Life Orb, utility set, leftovers, whatever it wants to be running. U-turn is great for pivoting and helps us out. It's a great defensive check to my team, so I definitely expect it to be more utility and defensive this week. And it pairs well with his other team members, Baxcalibur and Iron Valiant, as we've already mentioned. So it makes a great core, and I definitely expect to see it, which is probable this week as a support option for the team to try to get some HP back. Second Noise could be there to stop my recovery options this week. We've seen my recovery in the past, so that might be a great way for him to stop me from getting those and using that. Could run T-Wave if it wants to use some speed control. Could make use of Serene Grace if it wants to with like Iron Head flinches or is it Headbutt flinches. I find that unlikely. I feel like the defensive set is a better run for Jirachi this week, and that's probably what we are going to see. Next up, I think is his designated lead, which is Singing Shocks. I think that's a great lead option for his team. Hazards are great into my team to stop me from pivoting, really wanting to make me stay in there. So I definitely could expect to see rocks, could expect to see spikes as one of the options for that. It probably wants both stabs and Volt Switch, so probably Thunderbolt, Earth Power, and Volt Switch, which is my prediction for it this week. It could also run like some other coverage moves, but it's probably what it wants most importantly. It could be an offensive Pokemon. It's likely to be fast defensive pivot though. It probably wants to come in, get rocks off, maybe has Focus Sash this week. If it's booster energy, then we know it's more offensive because it'll be wanting to boost its speed stat to make it faster and just rip on my team as it comes out, which is not a bad strategy at all, but it's a choice. It's very much a choice. Another option I think for his team this week is Decidueye. I know it's the last Pokemon he drafted, but it's a Terra Captain, and it's a good Terra Captain for a reason. It is a must-bring this week for Darkrai. Nothing else really stops it besides outspeeding it, and that's not reliable outside of Regieleki because I'm faster than your entire team. And if I'm going to bring Darkrai, I'm going to bring Timid Darkrai max speed because I don't want to deal with that crap. If I don't have to. But Darkrai does run this team, and I feel like Terra fighting Decidueye is a great option to deal with that. Likely, if it's going to come, it's going to be Assault Vest to try to deal with the Darkrai. So that could be a problem. Terra fighting boosts its stab moves, and it has no reason to worry about my coverage moves on Darkrai because it's got rid of its grass typing, which is actually pretty bad for it. And it could be really good. A total check to my Darkrai. It is likely a bulky offensive Pokemon, not really wanting to invest in speed that much, but probably max attack, max special defense or defense, depending on how he wants to run it. Probably more likely max special defense, but maybe Assault Vest will give you that needed power to do that. So I don't know. It just depends on what they want to bring. And last on the team, I feel like is Sinistra. I feel like it's a grid check to my bulky Pokemon. It kind of stops them with Pain Split and Strength Sap. It wants to use Matcha or maybe Scald on the sets to cause burns. Heat Proof is great to stop Crocalor. It's got some options and utility there. What else I could see is Regieleki makes a good bid this week as a Pokemon to be brought. It could be dual screens, it could be support to stop Darkrai, if that's an option, maybe instead of Decidueye. It could have utility to remove hazards with Rapid Spin, who knows, but this thing could be powerful and do a lot of damage to my team as well. Terra Water Basculegion is obviously a choice every week, with Terra and the Choice Band or a water boosting move, water boosting item rather. It does a lot of damage to my team, and I don't really have anything that's immune, so that's a good option this week. Probably won't come because of Darkrai, but if it wants to try to come in on something, it might be able to do some work this week. Who knows? So enough of what my opponent's bringing. Let's talk about what I'm bringing. Obviously, we got to start off with our big boy, the Darkrai this week. Asta, the Darkrai with Life Orb this week. Bad Dreams is my ability every week because that's what I have to have. I have max special attack, max speed, Timid Nature with Dark Pulse, Focus Blast, Ice Beam, and Sludge Bomb. I want coverage this week. We really want coverage week, and I must bring Darkrai this week. It is honestly just a great option for this team. Its speed tier is great and can easily punish Iron Valiant outside of its booster. It needs Life Orb to seal some KOs on some of those uninvested Pokemon like Excalibur, Sandy Shocks if it wants to be that way, or Basculegion. It 2-hit KOs Jirachi regardless of its set, which is awesome because Jirachi could be a pain in the butt. Although it probably doesn't want to deal with Jirachi one-on-one because of Thunder Wave. But it's possible. It almost forces something on my opponent's team to be Assault Vest, which is really why I think the Assault Vest, the Decidueye, could be an option this week. Terra Fighting, because it doesn't want to be Terra Steel because I have access to Focus Blast. So it definitely should be Terra Fighting if it's going to come out this week. Overall, this deals with the majority of my opponent's team, and with the coverage moves I have, Lice Whack Week, it could just be the cleaner at the end of the game. It could just pull out a broom and start sweeping. And I definitely think Darkrai is a great option for that, and I want to keep it alive at that point in time. If needed, Darkrai can be a trade with Excalibur. If it's the speed tier thing, we can definitely live a hit and one-shot it back as long as we hit Focus Blast. But if it's +1, it is going to kind of destroy Darkrai, and that means I'm probably going to have a Life Orb damage, so not the best thing in the world, but once this thing it outspeeds my opponent's entire team, it's 100% the win con, and I don't think it loses at that point in time, barring I miss Focus Blast, and we're going to try not to click that move as much as possible, because I don't trust Focus Blast myself. I know some of you might, and I've done things like that in the past, but I don't trust Focus Blast at all. It's called Focus Miss for a reason, and I just don't trust it. Next up is Silphar Clefable with leftovers this week. I got Unaware. It is 252 HP, 252 defense, and a little bit of special attack investment. Moonblast, Ice Beam Knockoff, and Wish. This is my designated revenge killer for Iron Valiant, regardless of what its set is. Nothing Iron Valiant does really hurts Clefable beyond Poison Jab, and that's really only a problem if it's fully offensive and if a poison occurs. It needs both of those conditions in order to really do works to Clefable, because I one-shot with Moonblast uninvested, which is great, and I even have a little bit of investment on the Clefable, so we probably can deal with Iron Valiant with just Clefable itself. That's its main reason to be here. That's all it really wants to do, but it does have some use against things like Excalibur, or Basculegion, or Jirachi, or Sinistea, or Decidueye, depending on the sets and what I want to do with it. It's a useful Wish support and knockoff utility to remove items from my opponent, so it's probably going to be something that goes down really fast on the team, because I need it for a specific thing, and once Valiant's gone, Clefable really doesn't need to be here that much anymore, and we might try to just Wish Pash and stuff off. I know it says Moonlight on the set. I copied the wrong set. It is definitely Knockoff is my fourth move. I had Moonlight and Wish on the set at the same time, and then I looked at it and I said, wait, I have 2 healing moves. I don't need 2 healing moves. Let me switch that really quick, and I think Knockoff is a better utility item for us this week as a way for Clefable to do some work. I might still switch that. I don't know. I like its coverage for some of the ghost types that are out there. It definitely is a way to deal with the Basculegion if that comes, but it depends. I might decide to switch it. That's something I'm not sure about, that final move slot on this Pokemon. But really, I need Clef to come sponge hits, let my big hitters get in and for free and do the best they can. Next up is Magna the Crocolore holding Eviolite with max HP to... Okay, the set on the screen is wrong. 252 HP, 224 defense, and 32 special attack. It's a little bit different Then what that says, it's Relax, and it's Flamethrower, Slack Off, Terra Blast, and Roar. Croc is very identical to what we ran last week's match, but I have a little bit more investment in defense to live Banded Wave Crash from Baskia Legion, and I switched my remaining points to, so it doesn't actually have max special attack, it has special defense, 232 special defense. Man, I've changed the set a couple times, so it's gone a little wonky. But it does have some points in special defense to help with Regieleki if that needs to happen. I'm running the same moveset as week 1, but I'm choosing Terra Fairy over Terra Water to help deal with Iron Valiant and Baxcalibur. Like last week, this is meant to be a wall against my opponent's physical attackers and bring some offensive utility. Fairy goes well into this team and counters one of many of Croc's weaknesses, so that's great to get rid of those weaknesses to make this a more defensive ball. I probably want this to be my Terra captain this week just because of how good it is as a Terra Pokemon, and the typing in the matchup goes really well into this team. So it's probably going to be my Terra captain this week, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in case I want to do something else. Picking up the Fairy typing while maintaining Stab Fire is bonkers with this Pokemon. And we see some of the threats on the other side of the field. I likely want this to deal with Jirachi before it Terras, because Terra Fairy into a Steel type isn't the greatest thing. But if it's packing a Steel Moon, that means it's missing something else from its set. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to run Iron Head or something like that, or Flash Cannon. But if it is, then it's missing something else, which is great, because then we have other things to deal with it, and I don't care at that point. So we're really just trying to find ways to deal with these multiple threat Pokemon and get them going. With Eviolite, Croc isn't bad in the special attackers either, making useful wall for this team. As I said, I built for a little bit for Regieleki. It can live a Thunderbolt Regieleki. So, and I think it has like a 0.4 to 3% chance to KO. So, 2-hit KO. So we probably can take on Regieleki with this Pokemon. It's probably not the best option, but it is an option for the team nonetheless. Next up is Klaus, my Iron Shreds, holding the Air Balloon Quark Drive as its ability. It is 252 in attack, 40 in special defense, and 216 in speed with a Jolly Nature, boosting that speed over a special attack. Again, this is my designated lead for this team as I anticipate Sandy Shocks being the lead for my opponent. It is my best way to deal with Sandy Shocks because that lead is good into my team, and I want to be able to counter it with a good lead as well. Air Balloon is a niche item that I'm bringing this week, which allows us to come in on Sandy Shocks and be immune to literally everything it has. If it wants to run either stab, it cannot hit Klaus until it pops that Air Balloon, and that would require something like Terra Blast or Power Gem to be on the set, which probably isn't likely since it can't be a Terra Captain. I don't know, it might do that, it might see this as a way to beat it, but I feel like this is just a really niche set that no one would think of, and hopefully it can do some work. So really what I want to do is Air Balloon allows us to come in on Sandy Shocks, be immune to what it has, and then we can set up Rapid Spin to outspeed even with Booster Energy. Speed variance, Booster Energy speed variance, which is why we have invested in speed. Not Baxcalibur, but Rapid Spin helps us get that speed to outspeed everything. I think we're calced to beat Sandy Shocks with a +1, so that'll be great. Rapid Spin also breaks the Focus Sash, which I anticipate coming on those variants for the speedy Pokemon, for the Sandy Shocks lead variants. So then once we are +1, we will then OHKO it with EQ while keeping rocks or spikes off the field, which is phenomenal for my team, allowing my team to do really good work later on. Trez also has other matchups this week, include Baxcalibur or the right investments into some of his Pokemon, Regieleki, Raichu, Jirachi, all good matchups. Knockoffs a utility for those ghost types that are out there in case I want a neutral ground play if I feel like they're going to switch in. So that can be really good. We can really deal with offensively with those Pokemon and then pivot out to something else that we could use later on. Next up is Luck the Hawlucha, winning a Focus Sash this week, Unburden. Max in attack, 240 in speed, 12 in HP, and 4 in defense. This is an animate nature. I got close combat, acrobatics, brick break, and sword stance. This is the debut of Luck, the Hawlucha. This set is meant to deal with a dual screen Regieleki, which is a problem for my team, and is a measure to stop Darkrai from sweeping. It is one of the potential measures to stop Darkrai from sweeping. We really only need dual stab on this Pokemon to take on the opponent's team, because we do not expect to really get any KOs with Hawlucha this week. It's meant to be more of a utility Pokemon that can break walls, a utility wall breaker this week. That is what it's here for, to do some work. I have enough speed investment to speed creep Sandy Shocks and below without booster energies or Scarf, making it possible that Luck can really do some damage even if it doesn't get its sash broken this week. I like the direct ability to cancel uninvested Baxcalibur, as well as counters to much of what I feel like my opponent will be bringing this week defensively. Initially, Zoroark was slotted in for this Pokemon slot on the team, but I feel like the screens are just a likely enough potential to warrant me bringing Hawlucha this week. Plus, I have a stupid speed steer with Unburden that outspeeds boosted Iron Valiant and max speed Regieleki. The stat spread also allows things to more likely proc Focus Sash. I don't have investment in special attack for that reason, because there's a role where Regieleki doesn't actually one-shot me if I have any investment into special defense with this set. So the investment is there to kind of give us a little bit of a niche to allow Hawlucha to go down, do sash, and then proceed to sweep. It could be an option to get one thing destroyed on the team. It also is a great potential to just nuke something on my opponent's team and put it below half, which then is manageable for Darkrai and the rest of the team later on. And last but not least is Mimosa the Arboliva with the Assault Vest. I have Seed Sower as my ability this week. I'm Terra Poison. I have 236 HP, 148 special attack, and 124 special defense with a modest nature with Giga Drain, Earth Power, Alluring Voice, and Terra Blast. This is another debut this week, and originally I had Knackle stack here to reprise its annoyance from last week, but having another defensive Pokemon really didn't help the team that much, so I decided to switch. What I did need this week was a bulky offensive Arboliva set to deal with the special attackers from my opponent. I expect Sandy Shocks, Regieleki, or Raichu to come this week, one of them, and I need to counter them somehow, and Arboliva does that. A rare chance could be Terra Water Bastion Legion, which also we have no better counter to than Arboliva because we can recover back our HP. But I really need this thing to be able to deal with those things in case they try to sweep this week, especially that Bastion Legion. Actually, Arboliva is a great matchup into both of their Terra captains this week too. One just requires Arboliva to Terra into its Terra Poison because I can't deal with the Decidueye as a normal type. I'm running Terra Poison this week for the defensive utility. I looked at Terra Fire, I looked at Terra Fairy. They both have their weaknesses, and I feel like just Terra Poison is a better overall option as a defensive check this week. It helps also because it helps deal with Synergy and Decidueye if Decidueye doesn't Terra. But it also could be useful if I need Arboliva to deal with Baxcalibur or Iron Valiant. I can come in, use the Alluring Voice to maybe trip up a Baxcalibur. It's a weird set, but it could happen. And also we can deal with Iron Valiant because Terra Poison, Terra Blast does KO it, and it's unlikely to have Zen Headbutt. So we're probably okay. For something I once overlooked, I actually think it does really well this week, and it fills a massive hole in the team that we would have otherwise. We also have Seed Sower that provides natural healing and boosts my Giga Drain when it's up. And ironically, we probably are going to click Terra Blast when we're not Terra because it's just great as a stab move. It really only wants to come out if it's or if we're going against the Iron Valiant. That's the only reason Terra Blast is useful. Otherwise, it's normal stab move, and I think that helps us. So best to have the utility, and I really like that for Arboliva because it can make use of Terra Blast without being Terra, and I think that's a really good niche for Terra users as well. Just to have the ability to not have to Terra, because having to Terra is always not the best thing, because then you become a little bit predictable, and I don't like that. Well, that is the team builder for this week. Let me know your thoughts and your questions in the comment section down below. As I said, stay tuned for the match. It will be live tomorrow at about the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So please check that out, where we can actually see how the battle works out. So if you're not already, go ahead and go down below and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that episode and that upload, as well as leave a like if you enjoyed this video, leave a dislike if you didn't like this video, and I appreciate your comments and your feedback about the team. I'm hoping this does well. As I said, I haven't tested anything in this team, so I'm a little nervous, but I feel like we still got a good team, and I think it's an okay matchup for us. So hopefully we can do what we need to do and get a dub this week to put us at 2-0. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. And until next time, my name is KS, your coach of the Detroit Red Wingulls. Stay safe out there. And as always, burn it up.